Adapting to the history of Wuhan began with my exploration of hidden memories from my past life. In philosophy, this phenomenon is called hauntology. Since last year, the language of fabric that inexplicably appeared in my vision was surprisingly explained in the process of searching for Wuhan's past. My design process does not conform to physical, digital, painting, or writing forms. The outcomes include a mural, 2 master plans, a series of novels, and a short film. The upcoming presentation will be divided into 3 parts: context, language, and design, attempting to clearly explain the causality behind the final film. When searching for this ancient city's past, I found no traces of its old appearance. This raised a question in my mind. What is the significance of China's material past and spiritual past for the city of Wuhan? In the eyes of Belgian-Australian writer Simon Leys, although China has thousands of years of history, there is a prevailing attitude against preserving the material past from previous eras. Since the 21st century, accelerated urban redevelopment projects have quickly erased China's old cities. The Long Embankment Street district, a symbol of Wuhan, now has only one remaining section awaiting the order for demolition. This area retains the last remnants of communal cohesion. It is the final tinderbox in resistance to the higher power. Before these 3 towns, separated by the Yangtze and Han rivers, were collectively referred to as the Great Wuhan 100 years ago, the culture derived from living with water had been shaping this region for hundreds, even thousands of years. Along this 4-kilometer-long street, family workshops, trading shops, and food stalls are scattered on both sides. Everything you see is for the last time, as according to the historical rules of this place, they are destined to be demolished. What even the locals are not aware of is that the traces of the past before them are actually just illusions. Floods, fires, wars, and revolutions have converged here with surprising frequency and intensity. Being the center of China has indeed brought about rich trade and political status. However, it also means that this place is destined to have an unsustainable continuity. My approach of adapting to the history of Wuhan is to imagine the material past and create a spiritual past. Beneath every Chinese city, there lies a wealth of undiscovered historical tapestries. It is common for development projects to be halted due to the unexpected discovery of ancient burial sites. My first response was to embrace the fate of the demolition along the Long Embankment Street, predicting that in 2025, an inexplicable set of relics will be unearthed. They allegorically represent the material past of Wuhan. My design process also evolved through a series of surreal events triggered by archaeological activities. By attempting to design the past, I aimed to hunt for the ultimate fate of this miserable city. The pursuit of spiritual past by the Chinese is not necessarily reflected in the architectural forms. From one of the world's earliest mythologies, the classic of mountains and seas, to the religious murals preserved in the Dunhuang caves, the formation of Chinese collective culture and collective beliefs heavily relies on the dissemination of such literature and artistic forms. Today, the government's ubiquitous slogans promoting the spirit of Wuhan have long overshadowed the temples and commercial guild halls that once dotted the Long Embankment Street. In commemoration of 3 forgotten truths about Wuhan, obscured by contemporary political propaganda, I have crafted a myth in an attempt to awaken people with the following message. Every space today is built on the ruins of the past. To uncover the spirit of a city, you must first uncover the unseen. The triangular and causative relationships among these historical elements have taken on a religious significance, evolving into the philosophical core of my project's design language. In the process of developing the design language, I found a strange resonance with the history of Wuhan. Both of us have experienced the cyclical journey through the stages of creation, loss, and rebirth. The emergence of my language in the first stage was primarily inspired by the discovery of fabric-formed architecture, pioneered by Mark West. The language form created in the end can be summarized as consisting of 3 key elements: form, skin, and infill. The models from the 3 series engaged in explorations in both digital and physical realms. They integrated the aesthetics and techniques of fashion and corset design, creating a mutual material transformation between fabric, cotton, and concrete. However, I quickly discovered that the pressurized fabric-formed language presented some inherent issues. It is entirely incongruous with the contextual framework of Wuhan's brick-built vernacular architecture. The sense of masculinity conveyed by this integral constructional process fails to reflect the unique socio-cultural diversity and autonomous history. It's undoubtedly a heterogeneous language to Wuhan. In my disappointment, I truly believed they needed to be demolished. Wuhan cannot endure the arrival of another colossal force. But just at that moment I suddenly realized, isn't this action precisely the historical cycle that this place has always been experiencing? This sparked a desire in me to create an untraditional building type that is destined to be demolished in the future. I've made 2 changes to my language. These pieces are the latest versions of material tests. The main difference is that the use of clay has replaced the universal concrete. The second change is that the structure is no longer a single entity. The hanging system shifts the force transmission between fragments, from compression to tension. The relationships between the individuals are clearly visible through the expression of cracks at the joints. At the same time, the use of clay as a material opens up the possibility for glazing. The unique aesthetic created by micro-level fissures resonates with China's millennia-old ceramic culture. The largest piece I made reaches up to 1 meter in height, demonstrating how clay retains the form of force when cast using a soft material armature. In the process of searching for the past of Wuhan, my own past has also been rediscovered, but it takes on a new form. One of the most important events in the history of Wuhan and modern China is the 1911 revolution that originated here, which ended China's millennia-old feudal system. My thesis conducted an in-depth investigation into historical Wuhan, deriving 2 significant viewpoints. These, in turn, inspired me to design the following 2 versions of the master plan. The first version of the master plan is a satire on the government. The miracles that occur during the demolition not only failed to bring about social change, but, on the contrary, to regenerate the economy. They utilize 3 stories from murals to transform the area into a commercial district. Each building showcases the characteristic of living with the deities. The archaeology museum, bathhouse, and ceramic workshop are given different spatial experiences based on their functions, with white, green, and red creating distinct atmospheres respectively. The second version of the master plan is a prophecy. This city will undergo another lockdown and experience revolution once again. Within this context, the first version of the master plan will be destroyed, and afterwards, the local people will build a park on the accumulated ruins, considering it a monument representing the city. The final film is the autobiographical story of an archaeologist spanning 3 generations. Each segment of the story is accompanied by a surreal event, a dramatic shift. What message they intend to convey may vary among the audience. Please sit back and enjoy. I am an archaeologist from Wuhan. Ever since my great-grandfather immigrated here, my family has lived on this street, known as Long Embankment, for generations. However, the government's demolition plans forced us to leave behind the land where my ancestors had built up brick by brick. Our plight seemed to incur the wrath of the hidden spirits beneath. They unleashed a flood that submerged the whole area, revealing a curious ruin, as if to thwart their efforts to endanger the culture here. We continued digging down along the roots of the remnants, but couldn't reach the bottom, no matter how hard we tried. And in the end, everyone had to give up. The mystery hidden beneath this land could only transform into a myth.
Having lived for 98 years, death had already cast its shadow over most of my desires. I'd expected this state of peace to persist until my final breath, but as fate cycled through Wuhan's destiny, memories of home suddenly flashed before my eyes like a revolving lantern. A force within compelled me to seize the moment and return to the place of my birth. I'm quite surprised to see my home still standing. The former breakfast shop downstairs has been replaced by the ruins. This back alley used to be a place where diners would eat. The scene here gives me a strange feeling, as if something significant is about to happen. Across the house is a museum. Though it's deserted now, the sorting robots are still at work. I remember these tiles could fetch a good price back then. At the workshop, just 5 minutes walk from the museum, it's been said to be attracting quite a few tourists. It's rather dim here now. I reckon it's because everyone's tucked away at home, so the lights aren't on. The studio space is quite nice, actually. I can see my home from here, but the potteries are just half finished, and clay has clearly dried out. Why they rushed to flee like this? The most regrettable place for me, without a doubt, is the bathhouse. It used to be where I gathered with my neighbours. There's no one watching over this place today. I must go in and have a look. It's also a mess in here, with scattered documents, books and cans lying around that shouldn't be here. I really don't know what they've been using this place for. Just as I was about to leave, a phone suddenly rang from the center of the hall.
喂，什么？我还理你们吗？又提前点儿。收到。哎，可行动。
This story that my grandfather told me, whether it's true or not, I have no way to tell. but these ruins always need a myth, to encourage people keep exploring the unknown that lies beneath. Everything you see today is built upon the ruin of the past and will become part of the ruin. This has become the mission for our family, driving generations to become an archaeologist and the protector of this land.